All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Dr. Garais, your professor. This is now week 2, October 18. And this is HSC200, Health Promotion, Disease Prevention. Last night, the 17th at midnight, your discussion 1, task 1, and your lesson 1 was due. Late protocols are in effect, meaning to state that for every 24 hours, time is running out, automated deductions for any late posts. So please try to post today if you missed. I even got a courtesy email out to some of you. So, or not to some of you, to anyone who missed. And remember, attendance is garnered by these posts because this is an online class. So what are we doing this week? So if you already did your discussion reply, it's all well and good. Reply to one student already, and I mean, not one, at least 2. And then you could see I've made some comments. Please reply to the comments or acknowledge the comments and do something about them, because every time I write a little comment, it's something that will in the future could mean a potential deduction on your discussion. Okay, so good on you for those of you who already answered 2 people, but if you have yet to answer 2 people, that's what you're going to do this week. Okay. So that's the discussion 1 reply, and make sure your replies have at least 1 APA 7th edition citation citation in the bottom, and make sure that you refer back to that citation. Don't just put a citation in there just to say, hey, look, I made a citation. Make sure that citation bolsters your argument and adds on to the statement. So if you agree with somebody, get another citation other than the one that they had to back them up. If you respectfully disagree with somebody, find another citation of a reputable source, a .gov, .edu, medical school or nursing school, or a .org. And try to get the ones that have dates or that have the websites regularly updated, because n.d.nd, no date, academically, that's highly suspect. And it'll be better if you at least post something. And if you can't find something from 2021, then of course, get something from 2020. And you can also utilize your library, APA sources, library services. You could use the research database. It goes, and you could also contact Laura De Leon at MDELEON, mdeleon at stratford.edu. What else? Let's look at the task 2. What are we doing this week? Of course, you click on this, investigate health promotion and disease. You look through this website, okay? And every time you see something like this, click on it, because this could be data that you could use. You could cite back to the own course of things that you want to answer on your posts or anything. So there are barriers to health promotion. There's reasons why people don't listen to commercials or listen to people. Right? It goes, why is more than 40% of our population obese? When we all know that it's not good for you, right? And that it leads to a whole bunch of things, myself included. But there are many factors that influence health. There's also a whole bunch of social determinants. So let's say I click on that, and then it opens up more things to read about. And on your posts, even though this is done like in like bullet points, don't just copy and paste it and with the bullet points, expand on that, right? So for example, income, employment, and poverty. Yeah, it's easy to say to go to the gym when you're not working every day, when you have enough money to go to a gym, right? Even $10 a month is rough for a lot of people. Educational attainment and literacy. There are a whole bunch of people out there that, how many times have you listened to people who say something and it's totally, there's no data, there's nothing to support it, but they say those things, right? And there's predisposing factors for different races and different ethnicities. Me personally, I don't like the word race. We're a human race, last time I remember. But ethnicities and cultural backgrounds, oh, they're as varied as there are people, right? I always cite the fact that when I was a kid growing up in the 70s, I think I only knew one person who's of Filipino descent who was obese, like, or even remotely fat. We were all like skinny. But then you get exposed to the American culture. And even now in the Philippines, diabetes is now a growing problem. And obesity is now a growing problem because the Philippines did what? Copied the American way of life, working way too hard and just ordering takeout. I do it all the time, right? So expand. Once you see these things, expand on it, or research it and look into things further, right? Now, like this, resources to learn more, right? This is 2014 update on rural or urban chart book. Why don't you look up to 2021, right? Rural healthful people. There's probably data on 2021, and look, there's probably is, right? Because if I look on the bottom somewhere, look, 2021 Rural Health Information Hub. They it's assumed that all rights reserved they're updated. But again, you can look things. It's better to look things closer. Of course, watch this video. Is the future or relative future of the world of multiple chronic disease, because we are living longer, ladies and gentlemen. All right, it's called the graying of America. When I was started practicing, there wasn't that many octogenarians on my roster, but nowadays, 30 years later, oh, you got 90-year-olds. You got a lot of people who are like 100-year-olds. We're living longer, and if you're living longer, the odds of you having chronic disease, ick, pertaining to Crohn, time, increase. So you watch these videos, you take little bits and pieces, and you can also refer back to them. Make sure you cite the video, cite whatever you take from, right? Most common are they different? Are there differences between what the world sees and what the United States sees? Okay, so international. So you can make a little chart of the top 5 of international and top 5 of US and compare and contrast. Okay, who do they affect? What is the different risk behaviors and other issues that contribute to chronic disease, cost projection in the chronic disease, and also special needs. I have 2 autistic sons. When I was in medical school in the 90s, autism was a side note. Now it affects 1 in 42 boys. That's a lot. That's way more than COVID. That's way more than anything you see on TV. But you don't see it on TV, right? Because it's not marketed. It's not important, right? Same thing. We care more about COVID than we have other things. But the data is now suggesting that it's right now, from the research that the relative research that I have seen, I couldn't find any real article that could tell me it's suspected of the obsession with COVID. But hospitals are still doing their job, and then just because we have a lot of COVID cases, it doesn't take away from our other chronic cases. Well, from the research that I have, I don't have any data on it. Doesn't mean it isn't there. It just means that there is no current research. And it takes a while to do some research, more than a year. So, and COVID's only been around relatively. And why does this poor clinician look so sad? Well, maybe she knows what we already know regarding all these chronic diseases, which, by the way, almost all of them, if not all of them, are preventable. And remember, so when you write your little paper, again, you do Microsoft Word, double click on the top section there, the header, make sure you put your name, what's this class, right? Class number, and what's the assignment task. 2 or week 2, whatever, and then whatever the date. Okay, close the header. And then, of course, then you start typing away your answers. And just like, just like your discussions, have a distinct beginning, middle, and end. Have an introduction. Answer the questions. What's your opinion? And then you have the body of evidence. Where did you get this material from? Did you look up 2021 data? And then lastly, your conclusion. Hey, I thought heart disease would be up higher. I thought cancer would be up higher. I thought COVID might even be there since we've been here a while, right? But it's COVID still considered not considered a chronic disease, but it may. You do your research. So look into that. Okay, so make sure you do that. And of course, when you save the file, please have your name on it or somewhere, because again, not for my class, but it's just a good good practice. But because there are other classes, there's like 40 you in there, and the professor is teaching like a million courses. But for us, for me, I can handle. But have the the correct protocol, so it'll be easier. Okay, so it's a compare and contrast little mini essay. I don't know, 300, 400 words. Don't need to write a textbook. And that's for task 2. So discussion 1, reply to 2 people if you have not done so already. Task 2, of course, the thing that we run over, the compare and contrast over the top 5 chronic ailments that are in the United States versus the top 5 internationally. And if you can find 2021 data, oh, good on you. That's showing due diligence. Now, let's look at, there are 2 case studies that we need to look at. So again, to add on to your project assignment, research the major chronic cases of Brazil, particularly in the area affected by the earthquake, because this is an ongoing thing. You're every week you're building this up. Determine who's the most affected, which are the risk factors, and which programs for health promotion for each disease are currently in place. And then you could use these case studies as a guide, because bottled water is important. Also, what happens with diabetics who because when an earthquake happens, what happens? A lot of acute problems, broken bones, dehydration and all that. It's going to affect the healthcare system. And then what happens to the patient who can't get their meds? So what happens to other chronic cases? So that's what this submission is for your lesson 2. It's the case study. So let's look at these case studies, and when you submit them, of course, submit the answers. There you go. And then you could apply the answers of this to your eventual the project assignment. So there's some answers here in the case study of diabetes. There's also, let's look at the other one, bottled water, right? Answer those questions. There's not that many. There's only one question up there. Should they buy bottled water? And then there's some questions down here. So there's only 5 questions. And put it in one big Microsoft Word document, of course, put your name and what you're supposed to be answering. Okay, just write lesson 2, HSC200, of course, your name and the header and all that. And then start adding to make a little file on the side, like I stated last week. Start adding to all the research you're supposed to be doing regarding chronic disease in Brazil, because what this course is making you do is every week, even though it's not for a grade yet, every week it's forcing you to do a little bit more for your final project. Okay. All right. With all that said, please hand in things on time. Please, it's a real challenge to try to update grades, especially if they're coming in at all different, especially if they're coming in after a fact. So your discussion 1 replies are due, task 2 is due, lesson 2 They're all due. And what's next week? What's that? Sunday night, I believe it's the 24th. Correct me if I'm wrong. Sunday night, 24th, 12 midnight. If there's any questions, you have my cell phone here. Kindly text. Make sure to put your full name and what course you're in referring to, and the situation you're referring to, or you could shoot me an email. And again, I answer all correspondence within 24 hours, even on the weekends. And if I don't, hit me up again at the 25th hour. With that being said, thank you very much, everyone, and see you here online on your discussions.